Please help me to welcome Steve Weinlaw.
Get the lights down. Thank you, April. Oh my goodness. So, I mean, the only thing you take away from that is he doesn't sleep and he's addicted to Sudoku. Okay? I mean, you need to know that I play these games. I download the Washington Post every single morning because I am a crazy liberal. It's because the Washington Post sort of feeds my need to know what's going on in the world. And I walk around with blank Sudoku things. And so this morning I got in here and I took down the Sudoku, and the game I play is, when Erica came up, I started Sudoku. Could I do the Tuesday, today's Tuesday, right? Could I do the Tuesday Sudoku so that it was done by the time that April finished? Now, I can generally do that on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Thursday and Friday get harder, but you never know. So now I'm going to see whether I can replicate it again tomorrow, because that's just how completely weird I am. The only thing that April didn't say that you need to know is that I've had 3 jobs. I've been doing this for some 46 years, 47 years, and I've never been promoted. And I can't tell you how proud I am of that. I've never been promoted because I loved everything that I have done. I love the fact that I was teaching 6 classes and my department head way back in the 70s was only teaching 4 courses because his life was dominated by the absurdity of budgets and book orders and schedules. Why would a classroom teacher want to give up 6 classes to go do budgets and book orders? And then I did get drawn away from that, even though I was prepared to teach for the rest of my life, when the state called. And how can anybody survive in April's job for 22 years? And I did, because I started as a state math consultant, and 2 years in, oh, Steve's got a big mouth. Oh, Steve can do this. Why don't you get promoted to this and to that? There were rumors I was going to be deputy commissioner of Connecticut at one point. And the bottom line is, I loved the opportunity to do what April does now. I love the opportunity to be able to wander all around the state and do those kinds of things. And why would anyone want to be a bureaucrat, with all due respect, Erica? Why would anybody want to leave the opportunity to work day in and day out with teachers? And then Ann came along and I got burned out, and you know, you can only burn bridges for so long, and you can only be as obnoxious as I am on behalf of kids and teachers before people start to really hate your guts. And so we moved to Washington, and I took a year off. I learned to cook, and I was running on the mall every morning and stuff like that. And then AIR found me. And so 15 years ago, it's unbelievable, 15 years ago, I started as a level 6 at AIR, and guess what I am today? I'm still level 6. We have an annual thing that says if we promote you, or if they promote me, I'll quit. And so it's been wonderful. I was in the office last week for half a day, and I can't tell you how many people I hired at level 4 who are now level 7. I can't tell you how close I am to a bunch of people who were little kids and these research assistants, and they've grown, and then they were a level below me, and then they were my level, and now they are vice presidents and managing directors, and it just warms my heart. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that really sets up this notion that the only value of a day like this, the only thing that I really do in this world is, number 1, I validate outliers. And so whether you are in this room or whether you're watching via video and stuff like that, I know that there are outliers in this room. I know that there are people who are giving up a vacation day because you are frankly weird. Not only do you love math, but you love teaching math and you love kids. You are different. You all know that you go back to the ranch in August and September and you work with people who wouldn't come to a day like this if their lives depended upon it. You know which of your colleagues left school last week, this week, next week, whatever, and they wouldn't come to this. It's like, that's it, I ain't gonna learn anything, I ain't gonna read anything, I'm gonna... The only problem is, you have their students this coming year. The only problem is that we are all in this together. And so I know that today is valuable to the degree that I validate outliers. I tend to be pretty blunt. And so I'm going to spend today sprinkling empowerment dust, because I think that that's the essence of what educators do. In the classroom, what every great teacher does is sprinkle empowerment dust and have kids go, whoa, cool, Oh, that's neat. Oh, that's so wonderful. Oh, I can do that. Oh, I'm empowered. And when we empower each other, gang, there's no stopping us. And why would you be an educator in these crazy times if you didn't understand that it is first and foremost empowering kids, teaching them reason, teaching them to solve problems, making them comfortable and self-confident and able to go forth and take on this crazy world as far more important than simply being able to do synthetic division or memorize some cockamamie formula. And so, ladies and gentlemen, there it is. You'll have a copy of this wonderful little 140-page document, right? Principles to Actions Ensuring Mathematics Success for All. Wonderful. That's where we start. Defining our terms. As April said, there are 6 principles. Principles and standards. Great. Principles to actions. Our principles are, for the first time in NCTM's history, the audacity of not putting equity first. Of not playing the politically correct game, but of saying that what you all know is before anything and everything, it is the quality of teaching and learning that we can control and that makes all the difference. But it has to be supported by a set of policies that give all kids access. A set of policies that give kids opportunity. A set of policies that do not run kids down the tracks through the most useless computer-based IXL intervention programs that do not put kids in a position where they are tracked out of opportunity. We don't have a decent curriculum, then what good is any of this? We don't have tools and assessments and professionalism. And so as April said, today simply starts with what we control. Today starts with teaching and learning. And I can't tell you how proud I am to spend today with Peg Smith and tomorrow with Deanne Hinker. Why? Because they were instrumental in this magical list. This computer sitting right there has 22 drafts, all 22 drafts of this list of mathematical teaching practices. It had 6 different names, 6 different titles. We argued about practices and mathematics and we'll get confused. And when all is said and done, here we are 3 years after the release of this document, and no one has emailed me and said, "Yo, Steve, you guys screwed up. Yo, Steve, you missed one. Yo, Steve, there's duplication." It is a source of amazing pride that a list that at one point had 6, another point 10, a magical 10, but of course, another point it had a dozen. It was up as high as 18 of these practices. Complete overkill. This too fine, 11. It was back down to 8. Then it was a different 8. And here we go with a day that says to you, stop. For the first time in our professional career, whether you've been teaching math for a year, 10 years, or 40 years, have the answers. We have a set of standards that are coherent. We have a set of Common Core standards adapted by Iowa that are teachable. We are no longer asking teachers to teach things that cannot be done with and for kids. We are no longer asking teachers to cover 47 objectives, the stupidest thing we ever did. But gang, what's so exciting is that we know that regardless of what we teach, it's how we teach it that makes all the difference. And so when I say to you, the great news is we have the answers. What it does is it puts all the pressure on you. Because it says now, the issue is how do we implement them? How do we put those answers into place? And so our job today, my job in the morning, Peg's job in the afternoon, is to breathe life into these notions of, do you have a clear sense of your goals? Because if you don't have a clear sense of your goal for your lesson, the fact of the matter is you will not choose the right tasks, you will not ask the right questions, and you will not assess whether or not they've learned the right stuff. It's just that simple. You know that if you've got a clear, wonderful sense of your goals, but you do not engage kids with rich and appropriate tasks that give them a reason to care, you are not going to effectively teach all kids. You will continue to have math work for the nerds and continue to be a disaster for everyone else. And you know how many times we are clear on our goals. Oh, we've got 2 tasks that we can't wait. We've got this game, we've got this card sort, we've got this awesome problem, and we're all excited about the task, and the lesson still. because we didn't deliver it right. Because we didn't ask the right questions, we didn't use representations, and we didn't engage kids in discourse. And then you know that what makes math work for all kids is that fluency grows out of conceptual understanding, as we're going to talk about over and over and over again today. You know that if kids don't struggle, all of Joe Bowler's work says we've got to stimulate neural action, neural activity. That is a matter of struggle. And when all is said and done, we need to have some evidence of whether it's learned or not. But I also get to co-teach. I get to observe. I get to do demonstration classes all over the United States, all over the world. I get to watch every none of you in lots of different ways. Since September of 2016, I have observed, co-taught, whatever, something close to 180 classes, kindergarten through 12th grade of mathematics. You ready for this? I have seen an exit ticket, a formal formative assessment in 12 of 180 classes. You should be sitting there going, that's probably the same thing you'd see in my school. Yeah, I know I should be doing it, but I don't ever have time. Oh, I tell kids go start your homework. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the harsh reality is that the tweet that still haunts me is something I did in California, and someone tweeted out, 2 hours of Steve Leinwan. It is so inspiring and so utterly terrifying. That is inspiring. That is inspiring. It says that we get validated. It says we know what we need to do. And it is utterly terrifying because we are looking at each other and saying, yeah, but we don't always do it. Yeah, but we don't do it effectively. Yeah, but we know that we don't spend collaborative time building it. And so that's what today's about. Today's about putting flesh on those particular things. And already I've talked far too much because most of you don't have a clue what the heck I mean. Just like the kids don't have a clue what the heck we mean. We talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. Good morning, my bright-eyed, bushy-tailed 7th graders. We are doing volume. Work in 7th grade, so we'll reteach it exactly the same darn way in 10th grade geometry, because that's where we do volume all over again, as if they never saw it before. Oh, we were so efficient the first time. On your mark, get set. SWB. How many of you put students will be able to on the board? Raise your hands proudly. Oh, are you kidding me? That's all? How many have got to put an I can statement on the board every day? Oh, how nice. Well, you're 2 steps ahead, right? I can statements are at least a little better. I can do something, right? But students will be able to do. You don't say, I can understand. That's the problem with an I can. Students will be able to do. And the Common Core talks about, York Standards talk about. Students will understand. And so I will talk later on about banishing those things. I'll show you an alternative when we start talking about, I've established my goal. My goal is to find the volume of right circular cylinders, and every single one of you knows that half of your students have just turned right off. Half of your students now know that this is another stupid lesson of go and look at the obituary column. There it is, right? Do I have the obituary column? Ah, sorry, you put a black box around it, right? Load numbers into the formula. Oh, it really warms the cockles of your heart. Come on, guys, in a world of all those cylindrical water tanks, in a world of barrels, in a world of barrels of hazardous waste, in a world of all kinds of, whoa, can I see that? Boys and girls, can you tell your partner 3 things about what's in my left hand? Come on, let's go. 3 things about the thing that's in my left hand. Let's go.
Water.
Look at the difference. Today we're going to explore how much water is in, what's that first name? Jenny. Oh, how nice. Today's objective is how much water is in Ginny's water bottle. Right? What do you see? I see something that's blue. I see a cylinder. I see a bunch of water. How much water? I don't know. Right? More than a quart, less than a quart. Oh, more than a liter, less than a liter. Oh, I have no idea. All of a sudden I have a whole lot more kids caring. But no, that's not the way we teach. Yesterday we learned about the volume of rectangular prisms. Do you remember? Of course I don't remember. That was yesterday. Right? Today we will find the volume of cylinders. Okay, I can shut down totally. I don't have to pay any attention until I'm told I have to go do something mindless. Open your notebooks, the formula for the volume of a cylinder is volume equal pi r squared h. Do we ever talk about why? Oh, some of you do. But for most kids, it's simply shut up, sit down, and memorize this useless piece of information. Good, we talk about how it's the area of the base carried through the height, why, and where the pi r squared come from, and all that stuff. Oh, let's try it. Any questions? Look at that perfect 3 sitting there, right? Oh my goodness, there should be a 5. Oh, neat. So somehow the 5 got lost on there. I don't know, but there it is. I knew it was on there, right? I just had to click one more time to get that 5. Look at the units. What units? There are no units. Nobody gives a about units. It's not the real world. It's just plug them in, right? And then you know that the hardest thing kids have with this is when I then have them say, you put 5 in, and then they realize it's supposed to be 2.5, and then they freak out because it's a fraction. I'm sorry, man, you should be laughing because I'm talking about you. I'm talking about your students. I'm talking about middle school people who are doing this in 7th grade and high school people doing this in geometry, right? And then 2 minutes after the test, the kids have forgotten the formula. Don't understand why they have to memorize it in the first place, since even on the ACT, well, even the ACT, the kids have got, the opportunity to do. Oh, are there any questions? There are never any questions, and so now let's go to our worksheet. I'm sorry, but this is a simple matter of if the shoe fits, wear it. If it's not clear to you, I have a goal and it's a pathetic goal. If it's clear to you, I have no tasks that any normal human being would care about. I have a task that simply is a drill, right? I have engaged you in no discourse. I have engaged you with no questions that anyone could care about. I have simply given you drill and practice, and then I wonder why most math continues to suck for most kids. And so the question is, it's so typical, it's so underperforming, it's so boring for so many. Where is the engagement, I ask you? Where is the struggle? Where is the discourse? Where are we giving students any reason to care? And you have to sit there and say, boy, I'm glad I don't teach that way, or I'd really be feeling gored. And there are other people in this room that are already sitting there like this, clutching their bosom because they are not happy. Because I have just replicated what we have been doing for far too long. And the good news is that we know better. The good news is that we have guidance, and now we need support to be able to do things differently. And look where it's taken us, right? Look what it's given us, right? It's given us a situation where we are in a bind. There it is. There it is. Far too many methods classes. I will show you how we do it. We will then do guided practice together, just as boring, and then you will do independent practice, because those are the 3 elements of a lesson guaranteed to be so simple, so familiar, so appealing, and so wrong and so underperforming for so many. And that's why we're in this room. We're in this room because we know that what we have done is not good enough. We know that what we have done is systematically sorted kids out. What we have done is systematically ensured that smart kids get smarter and everyone else gets dumber. We have ensured that we have scores on tests that we know are nowhere near as good as they should be, and we only have the professionalism section in this book that says we have course committees and we have professional learning communities, not PLCs. Professional, we are professionals. Learning, because we still grow. We have to learn every single day to stay alive. Communities, because we can't do it by ourselves. And those professional communities are where we come and talk about the fact that there's an alternative. And that I think when you actually peel away all this stuff, we're saying to each other, we know that when I say, hey, take a shot, go do it, go see how it works. You do it. We'll then talk about it. And then I will do the culmination. I will do the summary. I will talk about what we learned today, which is a very different way to do it. It's where we build in. You, we, I, go struggle, go explore, go share, go justify. Go prepare yourselves for a world wherein this guy has the answers to every mindless question we can have. Right? Why would I teach more of that? When I need, as Bill Gates says, a generation of people that know what to do with all the information that is no longer the purview of only the smart. It is the purview of all. am allowed to have my children, my students, use a smartphone in my math class. Hands. That's a little less than half. I am not allowed to have my students use smartphones in my class. Well, there you go, gang. You need to make a determination right now that says that I need that tool. I need to recognize that I've got Desmos sitting on here because it's a free download. I don't have enough money to buy a $124 TI-84. My calculator has these answers. I'm sitting in pre-calculus. I lost my calculator. I don't care. I need to know what the log, the natural log of 1.7 is. You all know. It used to be, I don't know how to find it. Now I go to Google, I do ln space 1.7 enter, and then the calculator turns itself this way, and then gives me the answer in the calculator so I can then go use it. That's Brave New World. You understand that I can enter Google and sit there and say, right, what is the value of x and 3x minus 7 equals 14, and it does that? So we have tools that give us answers, but we're dead if I don't know how to create the equation. We're dead if I don't know when and why to do it. And so that's why we need to do some things differently. And so let me just give it to you in a nutshell. Here is my crib sheet for you. Here is the slide that I hope that you spend some time on. Here's the slide in your hand. You got all the handouts, right? You got all this stuff, right? So right now, you can be circling this particular slide that says to you, hey gang, my overarching message to you today is to breathe life, to breathe understanding into this notion that our job, we're paid to inculcate learning and success. Intellectual success, emotional success, a sense of efficacy, a sense of empowerment, that's learning. If only we could snap our fingers. If only we could put a virtual reality hood on kids and it all happened. It doesn't. It doesn't, and you know that if you want a classroom where there's learning and success going on, most of the time it is because of those two preconditions. Walk down the hall and watch as a class where the kids are sitting quietly by themselves in their little rows. No interaction, no engagement, no participation, and as you well know, minimal learning. And then compare that to the class where the kids are sitting in groups of 3 and 4, and you're wandering around, the kids are actively engaged, and they're doing gallery walks on the flip chart newsprint pages of the work that they're doing. Go and watch kids saying, well, I think because, I don't, I disagree. Look at all that stuff. That's the engagement and participation. And when you have that, you almost always have learning. Same problem. You can't snap your fingers and have kids, oh, I'm engaged, oh, I love it, right? It doesn't happen. And so there it is. I mean, whether you turn to principles to actions, or you turn to the research, or you turn to common sense, or you watch and look at some of the best teachers. Can we be clear that every single one of you in this room knows that if your own children, your nephews, your nieces, your younger brothers, your younger sisters, or your grandchildren were in your school, agreed? You all know exactly which teachers they would have and which teachers you would not let your own kids near. It's a scary statement, isn't it? Except every one of you knows that's the case. And my question to you is, what are we doing about that? What are we doing about the fact that you're poisoned this coming year by the fact that you have kids coming into your class in Algebra 2? You have kids coming into your 8th grade class that had what you know was a terrible year last year. They had a terrible year because nobody did anything about the fact that there are teachers who do not understand about tasks and about questions and about discourse and about mistakes and about productive struggle. You are in a world where we need to do that collaboratively. You're in a world where we know that when we use representations, how did you do it? How did you see it? How did you see it? Who did it differently? Who pictured it differently? Alternative approaches, that all of a sudden we're in a world that empowers far more kids. And if you don't believe it, just look at all the research base that went into these 8 mathematical teaching practices. Just pause. And one more time, gang, yeah, but. What is this alternative? What does it look like? It's so easy to sit there and mock. There it is, right? Shut up, sit down, go plug it in. What is the volume of that right circular cylinder with no units on it? Right? What is the value of that abstract thing that says you can square 5 halves, and then you can multiply it by pi, and you can multiply that by 3, and all that stuff, and get a number that nobody in the world cares about? The answer is we have amazing tasks, we have amazing resources, and there's